Hello and welcome to Artifact Cup 30 in Homeworld Deserts of Karak. This is going to be the first of something like 30, 40, 50 games that I'm going to try to cast for this Artifact Cup. So this is a little bit unusual for an Artifact Cup. This was a round-robin tournament. It's the first time that we have done this. And so I'll talk a little bit about that after I do the player introductions. So we are watching from the perspective of JHS here in the white and black Galcian carrier. Looks like he's going to open up with a little bit of, typical CU harvesting, not going to retire his base runner or anything like that. And his opponent for this round, when I reveal him, is Spychy in the... Is this like a rust? I don't know if it's the lighting, but it's probably like an orange and blue coalition carrier. So, he's opening up, looks like kind of an RU heavy open, so I'm going to watch that, expecting some tech, maybe some AAVs coming out early. Also moving out with his base runner. So about this tournament. This is Artifact Cup 30, so normally every other week we have the Artifact Cup, and that's a single elimination tournament for usually about 12, well, not 12 players. Usually about 8 players, now that I think about it. Sometimes 12. Sometimes as many as 12 or 16 players. But, and there's no admission criteria or anything like that. That's just about how many people usually sign up. In this game, I believe we had... This Artifact Cup, I should say. I believe we had 9 signups. I'm going to have to check. Maybe it was more like 12. We had a good number of players, and this was a round-robin tournament. So this game is going to be the only game between these two players, Spychy and JHS, but the loser will not be eliminated. So whoever wins or loses will go on to play all 9 games, I believe it was. And so we get a lot of games, we get to see a lot of different matchups, and everybody gets to have a good feel of, like where they sit in the community. They're not going to get immediately eliminated game 1. Instead, you might lose your first game and then go on to win another 3 and then lose another 2, something like that. In addition, the maps were predetermined. So this was a pleasure to play because you just kind of pair up with your opponent and you immediately know exactly what map you're going to play, and you just go in and play it. It's one game, so this is best of 1. There's no best of 3 going on here or anything. Anyway, about the game. JHS here has research sandskimmer tech. He's starting on railgun tech, and he's set up just a few little scouting sandskimmers, which is very good. And both players have decided to grab their near artifacts. So far, very symmetrical. On the other side, Spychy also kind of sitting out some LEVs, but not as many as JHS has sandskimmers here, not really establishing that sensor coverage as quickly. So JHS, in theory, could push back a little more effectively. That said, Spychy is a bit faster on getting out a higher tech unit, and so AAVs are coming out, which will dominate these sandskimmers if they end up fighting. So there's no particular order in which it makes sense to watch these games per se. I'm just watching them in the order in which they appear on the bracket, which is to say, this game, the fact that it's JHS versus Spychy, that's completely irrelevant, but it is the Shallow, so this is the first game that anyone played in the tournament.
Alert. Enemy armor inbound.
The first map, I should say. Everybody started on Shallow.
Sandskimmer under fire.
Artifact extraction confirmed.
This turret's going to be a real pain for JHS here, this turret that Spychy dropped, because he ran away as soon as that turret was dropped, and if he had stayed on top of the turret, he might have been able to take it out before these AAVs arrived.
Assault railgun certified charges.
5 is definitely not enough to guarantee victory against the turret, but it can be done if you're right on top of the turret. But when you're away from the turret, you really can't approach that with just 5 sandskimmers. You'll just die. So Spychy will definitely get this base runner in with the artifact, not quite as quickly as JHS did because of that little distraction with the sandskimmers. And I'm guessing that these sandskimmers will die too. They're sort of stuck up here.
Coordinates verified.
It's not terribly important, but it kind of stinks. And this base runner could get in really quickly there, but is going to be pushed off by the AAV. So right now the AAV force from Spychy is doing a great job at just sort of zoning JHS out of areas of the map, including this turret actually is doing a good job of zoning things on the map. So railguns now, assault railguns seem to be the choice for JHS, and he might just get these sand skimmers out. I guess Spychy didn't want to pursue with that AAV.
Advance out.
Hostile strike
And the
craft
railguns should
destroyed.
definitely be some concern for these AAVs, but if you get too close like this, AAVs can deal with railguns. These are not armored railguns. They don't have the armor upgrades yet here. And so even just a few AAVs can really push back on that railgun. Meanwhile, these sand skimmers are going to come in.
Heretic forces are extracting an artifact.
It's really close with this turret. I don't know if there was a shot that got off on that railgun, but a lot of those sand skimmers are going to go down anyway, including that
Assault
railgun now.
destroyed.
Proceed to mark.
That said, JHS is doing a good job over here, it looks like, of keeping his railguns just out of range of the AAVs and doing some damage onto the AAVs. This railgun took some damage, but remember, Gaussian units auto-repair. These coalition units don't, so they're going to either have to go all the way back to get repairs from the carrier,
Right there.
or just sort of
Heavy
eat the
railgun
damage as
enhancements
permanent.
online.
And that's really a big difference between the micro play of Coalition and Gaussian players. Coalition players often want to stop an engagement from happening until they know that they can really do some permanent damage, actually totally kill units. Gaussian players are totally okay with just trading a few blows and then retreating, because every time that they just trade a couple blows and no units die on either side, they're winning. They're permanently removing hit points. Or not permanently, you know, technically these can go back and repair, but it is much more difficult for those units to do so. So, just the little quick hit and run things, it's not just a lore thing or a backstory thing for the Gaussian. They are really well suited to that kind of a strategy.
Assault railgun online. Rally position marked.
Authority recognized. Ready for dispatch. Mobilizing.
Production cruiser online. We have dialed in an artifact signal. Target zone secure.
Hostile craft detected. Prosecute.
Artifact extraction team en route.
Reposition.
Defense alert. Enemy armor inbound. Defense alert. Incoming hostile strike fighter.
Fighters now coming out for Spychy, which is going to be really good for him. Railguns are going to be very vulnerable to these coalition strike fighters,
Guarding base room.
and that's going to give Spychy what he needs, I think, to approach with this AAV force he has. Because Spychy does not have railguns yet,
Destination.
or at least has not built any.
Light attack vehicle online.
And so a pretty significant force of JHS's assault railguns here will go down. Spychy will lose a couple AAVs, but
Light attack vehicle rendering complete. Heavy railgun
JHS is now going to have to
enhancements
choose,
online.
does he keep producing these heavy railguns, which it looks like he will continue to
Heavy
do,
railgun in service.
or does he do something else? So he is going to research this missile ship fabrication tech, which will be useful. It is reactionary, and so that's not great. Oftentimes you want to be trying to predict when those strike fighters could be coming out and have a missile ship ready, just so that that first strike really does nothing, because your missile batteries are there.
Sound skipper moving out.
Spychy, meanwhile,
Mobilizing.
is just now, so 8 minutes into the game, getting railgun fab. It's not too late, especially since he had that strike
We have
fighter tech.
insufficient construction units.
But having railguns is going to be really useful for him, so that when these units are here, it's going to be much easier. He doesn't have to use fighters to take them out. He can still threaten with fighters, but also use his own railguns to project force. Now these railguns from JHS, they don't seem to really know what to do. They're like killing this sand skimmer, which makes no sense. Meanwhile, this artifact is going to be delivered here by Spychy, and strike fighters are coming in. So JHS has sort of said, okay, great, I've been countered, so I'm going to be a little more cautious with these railguns. But I think that's the wrong response. I think when you are threatened by aircraft, that's when you go all in. You stop building that unit type.
Reposition.
There's a missile battery here, so let's watch this, because between the missile battery and the production cruiser, Spychy now has lost at least one fighter, might lose another one? Looks like the damage is going to be split between those two other fighters, so not going to quite lose those, but that's going to hurt, losing two
Missile
fighters.
ship online.
As I was saying, though, when you have railguns or some other ground unit that's threatened by aircraft, it's usually better to just go all in with them. You know you're going to lose those units anyway, so you might as well apply them while you can. Sitting back here, they don't do anything. But
Visual on the artifact.
when you're in the opponent's face and then they have to send their strike fighters just to defend, that's a good use for them, for their strike fighters, but they were going to make good use of those strike fighters anyway.
Missile
So
ship rendering.
you might as well get something for that trade.
Move and monitor scans.
So it looks like JHS kind of pushing in here with railguns, but not quite connecting with these AAVs. You know, if these had just darted in there, maybe they'd be lost to the AAVs, but at least they would do something before the aircraft come
Light
in.
attack vehicle
These missile ships doing a great job at defending at home, because any aircraft that come in over here, if they come in on a direct approach, are going to be knocked out before the fighters can take out any resources. Finally, some hits connecting here. But the missile ships are not up here, so these units here are all completely vulnerable to aircraft.
Heretic scanner spotted. Railgun taking fire.
So I do like what I'm seeing here as far as what's going on in the middle from JHS. This is interesting. This is definitely kind of what I was talking about. Use them while you can. I don't think he committed enough forces here in order to take out the support cruiser. Maybe didn't know that these railguns were out from Spychy. But still, you know, some good damage being done on that support cruiser. But in the middle here, these units from JHS are kind of just, or excuse me, from Spychy, kind of stuck in here while the flanking units from JHS were sort of poking in from all directions. Now, these are railguns in here now, not AAVs. Looks like the AAVs were all destroyed.
Grid mark set. Advance.
So that'll be interesting to watch. There's also going to be fighters here, yeah, coming in and cleaning that up. These sand skimmers should be right here. I think these railguns can deal with these ones over here since they're focusing on the missile ship, but having sand skimmers right in there would have been awesome.
Artifact detected.
When all the AAVs were cleared up, there was really no reason for the sand skimmers to not just be on top of the railguns.
Secure the final artifact. Defense alert. Heretic forces.
Now, if you just heard that, something about secure the final artifact, you'll notice Spychy's at 4 out of 5 artifacts, and there's not a whole lot that's been done by JHS to stop those artifacts from going in. He's tried, but usually Spychy's been able to protect the base runner anyway. So this is very difficult for JHS now. He has to control that extraction zone and these artifacts, or he just loses the game immediately.
Strikecraft destroyed.
So the sand skimmers are going to be very distracting, tearing all the way up into the resourcing here of Spychy, which is a decent move, usually best paired with some other movement out onto the board.
Heavy railgun in service.
This AV is going to come clean it up very quickly, so it's not going to end up doing a huge amount of damage. Spychy, meanwhile, moving out in this really concentrated clump while JHS is like spread out totally. There's a turret here from Spychy. So that's interesting. This is like super vulnerable. When you see your opponent doing this, this is when you want something like artillery. You want something like aircraft, because that's a huge opportunity for any kind of AoE damage. Even just assault ships, Gaussian assault ships, would do a huge amount of damage if they were able to get in on top of a blob like that. And you can see now JHS sort of blobbing together as well, which is not a great idea when you're going up against strike fighters, because they do have AoE damage. But this even more so, because this isn't just that he moved the units. This is like they got clumped together by an attack order. It also means that when you're in a railgun engagement, as soon as you can see one of these, you can see pretty much all of them.
Destroyed.
So a lot of good railgun hits there from JHS.
Heavy railgun destroyed by enemy forces.
Really good hits. He must have vision somehow through this missile ship or something that's doing much better. So also really cool. This missile ship being right up front is taking out fighters as soon as they pop out of this carrier. This is really good for JHS. It's doing huge damage on Spychy's carrier here, which now is just trying to power up armor. It looks like it was offensively configured before, because all that power, it's still charging up in order to let that armor take effect. And I think it was this missile ship or this sand skimmer or something that was gaining vision here for JHS, while Spychy could not actually see the railgun, so all he could do is return fire. And now with all of Spychy's fighters gone, because of this missile ship and maybe this one here too, and this one actually, JHS is in a really, really strong position. Spychy's going to use this approach here to try and pull the artifact up, which, if you're not familiar with the shallows, one of these sides, it might be this one, is actually blocked off and cannot be accessed, while this one can by a base runner. So this fight now looking really, really good for JHS. These sand skimmers providing vision, while these high ground bonus railguns are just going to clean everything up. And now, Spychy's carrier, even though it is armored, is totally vulnerable here. JHS doing a great job, going to immediately clean up this turret.
New position.
Or just run by it, but at least he's got good vision there, knows exactly what's going on, killing railguns as they come out of Spychy's carrier. This is a huge turnaround.
Heavy railgun destroyed by enemy forces.
And I think Spychy now just doesn't know what to do. He's like, okay, but I lost my air. He's reconfiguring his carrier away from armor, which I think is a big mistake with these units so close, towards just the turret network, not putting any power into range. If he had put power into range, maybe he could engage these railguns and take some wins there. But he's going to build more fighters. So folks, you know, honestly, most of this game, I thought that this game was in Spychy's hands. I thought JHS was making too many mistakes and was just being countered too easily. But look at how this turned around with that one fight, having the missile ship coverage combined with vision, totally gave JHS the advantage. Now Spychy has nothing. You know, a couple fighters. Well, there's this huge anti-air coverage. Meanwhile, JHS has 7 heavy railguns, 12 assault railguns. JHS is going to loop around here with basically disposable units. He doesn't need these 6 assault railguns, and is going to kill this base runner. Assault cruiser here for Spychy, not really going to do anything because the heavy railgun spotted it and hit it with a big volley. And at this point, my only criticism of JHS is he's not killing Spychy fast enough. Spychy's got an armored carrier here, still pretty exposed, and JHS has this. He's got the missile coverage. 5 missile ships now on the field, one back here at home. He's got plenty of railguns. He's got the scouting for sand skimmers. You know, maybe a few more sand skimmers would be useful. Looks like he's got those on the production queue on all 3 production cruisers. He has a forward production cruiser. He's ferrying artifacts. There's really, you know, he's got enough railguns sitting back home with missile ships to defend against any base runners that could sneak in, while simultaneously having a lethal force of railguns here. This is JHS's game now, and I think he's figuring that out. And just being cautious, which I cannot fault him for, I guess. Artillery cruiser tech did come in here for Spychy, and artillery, if used just right, could potentially shift the game in Spychy's favor, but it would have to take some really, really good fights, and I just don't think those are going to happen with these railguns right on his doorstep.
Assault railgun lost.
Artifact extraction team en route.
The aircraft here are going to do something against these assault railguns, and there is an artillery cruiser here, but the missile ships are just too close, and this artillery cruiser is going to be destroyed almost immediately. In fact, at the same time as a support cruiser, so this game, I believe, is over.
Hostile artillery cruiser destroyed.
On the way.
There are enough sand skimmers here uncountered that even if there weren't any railguns, Spychy's economy would be dead.
Move.
Enemy sensor post eliminated.
Destination locked in.
Assault railgun destroyed.
Position set. Mobilize.
So, very nice game
Hostile salvage
from JHS. Really nice turnaround. I wonder if he felt like he was behind at the beginning, or if that was just sort of me as a caster misreading the situation. But
sand skimmer taking fire.
definitely well played. Exciting fights. And so JHS will take 1 victory. Again, Spychy is not eliminated. Spychy will go on to play all the games since this is a round-robin tournament. But that was the first game, and I will be casting more of these AC30 games, so stay tuned for those. Thank you for watching.